Hello, and welcome to today's Community Spotlight, where we interview small businesses that we know and trust and introduce stuff to you. I'm your host, Andrew Tomasetti, and today I am joined with Heather from Kona Compost.
My name is Heather. I am the owner and founder of Kona Compost, and we started our business in 2019. We recognized a need in Bucks County for providing an easy and accessible way for folks to properly dispose of their food scraps. When they go to the landfill, they end up creating methane gas, and once they're composted, they get turned into rich, nutrient-dense soil instead. So we pick up people's food waste at their curbside. We're kind of like your organic trash service, and we make it easy for people to do the right thing.
So Heather, I have a bunch of questions for you.
Sure.
How did you get into this? Of all the things you could have chose, why compost it?
So it started off, I was working in the creative field, and I was gardening and composting at home. And I'd bring my vegetables in and people would enjoy them. I'd share them with everybody and I'd tell them about composting. And what ended up happening is that I'd get orange peels and banana peels and they would just land on my desk and I would take them home and compost and bring the vegetables back in. So I was showing people this kind of closed system that was happening while working in an office setting. And people responded really well. So people started signing up and they didn't want to do the composting themselves. They just wanted to do the right thing with their food scraps.
So Heather, what's the strangest thing that you've ever picked up in a compost?
So at one point in time, I found somebody's toy Jaguar in there. It was a little plastic figurine. So yeah, that's the weirdest thing. But, we get the produce stickers, twist ties, rubber bands, utensils. Sometimes we get dish towels that ended up in there. So anyway, just check your bins before you put stuff in there. So when people sign up for service, they get a 5-gallon bucket. They can line it with a compostable liner or not. And what ends up happening is that they will put their food scraps in here. So as you can see, you've got paper towels and some asparagus, your coffee grounds, avocado shells, and apple peel. All of this is going to get turned back into soil. If we return it back to the earth, we are just putting nutrients back in and creating a very healthy ecosystem in our.
So how quickly does it go from this to something like this over here?
Yeah, so it takes just a couple weeks for it to be unrecognizable as food. The way that I compost is using a hot composting system, meaning which once I combine the food scraps, which are nitrogen, and I combine it with wood chips and leaves, which are carbon, what it does is that it creates a really nice environment for microbes and fungi and bacteria that are your decomposers, and they will help heat the pile up.
And the pile like this size, how many buckets is that?
So you have a lot of bulking agent, which is your carbon, but we can probably say that there was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 buckets that went into that one pile. On average, people are composting at least 10 to 11 pounds of food scraps per pickup time.
Wow. This pile right here, is that the finished stage or
This
this?
So this is going to be your finished compost over here. So as you can see, there are still some wood chips in there, but it's a finished pile. This can go right into the garden. So I'm a big gardener, and I end up taking compost and top dressing my garden every single year. Inevitably, your vegetables and your flowers are pulling nutrients out of the soil, so it's good to return nutrients for a good growing season. If you were to plant a tomato today, you would take some of this, spread it around the top. You can incorporate it into your garden, and you can do that once in the spring, once in the fall. And the nice thing about this is that compost acts like a sponge, and so if you have really rich soil, the need to water is not there all the time. In times of drought, it's important to keep your plants monitored and make sure that they're not drying out. But your ground is going to hold a lot more water once you add compost.
And is this something like you bag up and then people can purchase, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we are actually in the middle of a compost give back event. So anybody who signs up for our service will receive compost back if they want it. So they get 2 bags of compost back. If they don't want it, they can donate it instead. Yeah, so we're going to be bagging up a couple hundred bags to return to folks this month, and then we're making a donation to a mental health center so that they can use it in their therapy gardens.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Heather, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
Sure. So people can go to www.konacompost.com to check out some more information or sign up for service. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Kona Compost. And then we'll also be at the Wrightstown Farmers Market and the Yardley Farmers Market starting this summer. The Wrightstown Farmers Market now.
This has been another Community Spotlight where we interview small businesses that we know and trust and introduce them to you.